Ask Reddit. Former flat earthers, what made you come round? Kyrie Irving hasn't been doing press conferences. The Mobius strip earthers had more compelling arguments. Quote I got from somewhere. For 5 years I believed the earth was flat, then I turned 6. I convinced a flat earther, temporarily, by asking him if it was possible for a sphere to be so large that you could not tell it was a sphere by simply being on the surface of it. It took him a while. I used an analogy of an extremely long line that was so slightly curved you could not tell so by looking at a small section of it. Eventually he said yes to the sphere and I told him that was how big the earth is. A few days later he reverted. Most of these people aren't mentally stable. They believe in a lot of conspiracies. Edit. Corny edit. But as connoisseur of flat earth content, my personal favorite is Professor Dave on YouTube. He is an underappreciated dude who just had a science channel on YouTube and got brigaded by flat earthers for an unrelated video. He made like 6 video responses in total just owning these guys, but they eventually gave up. Check it out. I watched a documentary about flat earthers called Truth Behind the Curve, and my analysis from watching that these flat earthers are a group of people who found a community to be a part of. It's a shame their community is based on a lie, but I saw a bunch of people who were to be part of a community. Most of the people were social awkward and whatnot, and so an opportunity to be an influential figure within the community, so they doubled down on their flawed logic. The more against you are of them, the harder they rep their flatness. TLDR, I see flat earthers as a group of lonely people looking for a community that will accept them. Edit. WTF, did not expect this comment to blow up. Thanks for the silver and the dialogue, everyone. Look, it's really easy. If the earth is flat, there would be an edge, S. And there would be a effing Disney park at the edge, and we could bungee jump off the side and paraglide into the void, etc., etc. Someone would be making an absolute shit ton of money off of it, if it existed. Guess what? Nobody is doing that. ADN, in this world where absolutely everything is exploited for profit, if no one is making money off of it, it does not exist. No edge, not flat. Get a clue? I was debating a flat earther in Mexico, and I asked him about how GPS worked if there were no satellites. He said that they had devices in the ground to route you. I told him the Mexican government is barely able to put decent water pipes in the ground. Would he really think they had the tech to put routing devices in the ground? He chuckled with a 1,000-mile gaze. A serious answer here. The thing that made me stop was just the question, why would NASA lie to you? I will try replying to all of y'all, but we'll go to a study hall, so we'll reply later. The inclined seat conformed perfectly to his body, strategically placed in the seat pit so he could reach no buttons with outstretched arms. The straps anchored him firmly in place. They were uncomfortable but necessary. The engine burst to life with a roar that burned out all the other audio. The vibrations tore through his body and he felt his body sink back into the seat as the G-force began to take hold. The captain was watching the readouts on the LED displays and monitoring their trajectory as the acceleration began to peel his thoughts away. There was no more room in his brain. It had been filled by pure fear. The boosters grew with greater ferocity as they lifted higher into the sky, the sun beaming down on the left side of the shuttle. But faster they went, through max Q and higher into the stratosphere until the engines grew quieter, the air more silent, and the vibrations became less violent. They were approaching space, the final frontier. An hour later, and with the path of the shuttle a success, he noticed as his raw emotions withdrew that his body felt funny. Head had drifted aimlessly across his eyes as the captain's pen hovered in midair, and he knew the impossible was true. His childhood dream. He was in space, weightless. The captain turned around to him and motioned him to unhook his seatbelts. He did as he was commanded. They both left their chairs and glided over to the tiny glass windows to overlook the magnificence of Earth. "What do you think now?" said the captain. He recoiled in horror. It couldn't be. NASA had replaced the windows with high-definition screens in order to perpetrate their lies that the world was spherical. Those bastards. Had to travel to Japan. Gave up on my beliefs in order to make a shorter trip. Not a flat earther, but I was a 9/11 truther, I guess you could say. Insofar as I thought it was an inside job, I was heavily influenced and believed in multiple conspiracies in the Zeitgeist film as well. There was a never-ending source of dark, shadowy theys and thems controlling everything behind the scenes. I think there were a few factors that helped me escape that. Losing my father, it was such a life-changing event at that age that it made me reconsider everything in my life. Some light training in evaluating information. I learned about how to vet sources, primary, whether something was actually news or just an opinion editorial, etc. Ironically, this education came before I was duped. After my dad died, suddenly this started to kick in more. Lack of time means to dig myself a deeper hole. I started college shortly after my father passed, and that plus a full-time job took up all my time. I had none to buy further into the newest crazy bullshit. I had no Facebook, Twitter, IG, etc. No smartphone or texting. My primary use of Reddit once I discovered it was for our Naruto, our Bleach, Rage comics, and advice animals. So all in all, I think the time away gave me time to detox. If I had been on social media as I discovered those things, I can only imagine I very well may have become a Q believer as well. Looking back, I see how gullible I was in that moment, fooled by the onslaught of half-truths and clever logic of the various theories. I know better now, and I should have known better then. But I've been humbled to the fact that everyone is vulnerable to this sort of stuff. To think otherwise is deluding yourself. If someone starts as a round-earther and then converts to being a flat-earther and then goes back to being a round-earther, would you say they've come full circle? I was tired of living life on the edge. Not me, but got a flat-earther to question his beliefs, and hopefully critically analyze them, by giving him the proof he asked for, to which he responded mainstream science and media are lies. I asked why he asked for proof if he could just disregard it as lies either way, then told him that since he required no proof, or evidence against, to believe something, it made him the easiest person to deceive and that it seemed pretty sheep-like to me. He deleted all of his flat earth comments and hasn't posted about it since. ETA, Holy Round Earth, Batman, thank you for the karma and awards and gold. I promise I'll screenshot next time. Ada 2, he didn't block me. I can still see everything he posted. And the OP thread creator also said the comment disappeared. Shame. 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 No one took me seriously. I tried to convince others that the Earth is a circle, but they wouldn't listen. It's pointless. Yeah, you really need to use the serious tag. People on here are idiots, lol. Okay, I get the question is funny and all, but I actually did believe, for a time, that the Earth was flat. I was raised in a very religious family, and basically came to the conclusion that the Bible declared the Earth was flat, because since I believed the Earth was created in 7 days, the idea that God set the stars in the sky in one day made much more sense if the stars were simply points of light in a sort of snow globe formation extrapolated onto a bigger scale. Otherwise, he took 1 day out of the 7 to make a septillion or so balls of flaming gas, all with their own planets, and set each one into galaxies before breaking for lunch. It just didn't make sense to me that he would spend 5 days on one planet, and make the creation of the trillions of other stuff in the universe a little footnote. I was confronted about this belief a couple times, only one of which wasn't laughed off. That single person who engaged started a serious discussion, presenting much more evidence for the globe Earth, and eventually told me to watch Carl Sagan. The Cosmos series was on YouTube, and once I watched it, I had to know more. Finally, a video from the channel Minute Physics convinced me, in no uncertain terms, that the Earth was round. All it took was one quote, which I still remember leaving chills down my spine. You should have put a serious tag on this question. Thank you for watching. Daily uploads.